you, black man.
So, this is another episode. Episode 31.
You have to have the black man do it.
Why, yes, sir. It's quite wonderful. This is episode 31
Can we have some
of the
jazz
Moose
music
Knuckle
playing in the background?
Podcast. And we got the peoples here with the websites that Steve's are going to tell you. Steve, what's the websites again?
You're turning into Bill Cosby.
Moose Knuckle Podcast.wordpress.com.
That's right. Now we have a wonderful cast of people here today. We have Christina. Hunter, say hello to the nice people on the internet.
Hello, Mr. Cosby. How's that rape case going?
Do you like
I
your Jell-O?
didn't. I like my Jell-O, and I know people like Jell-O with roofies in them, so I give them what they want. And we have Devin.
Hey, did you see the whole Amy Poehler Tina Fey thing for the Grammys?
I saw part of it.
I put the pills in the people.
Oh, no, that was the Emmys.
No, that's wrong. It's more like I put the pills in the hoagies and put the hoagies in the people.
Yep, that's right. Yep, to be fair.
Devin didn't say hi.
Yo, what up, peeps?
I said say hi, not yo.
Hi.
Thanks.
He was being
You're
a
my
character.
wife? Okay. God, I get one night away.
No, she's not
Fucking
your
ruining it.
She's not your wife because I don't hear you saying sorry.
Well, next time make sure Luke doesn't invite a lady. Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, I love you.
I'm sorry.
I looked into the windows of her soul and I said, bitch, why don't you just say that in the first place? You said that though, right?
Yep. Anyways, so the State of the Union, Luke.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're starting off deep.
I was,
The only way she knows to go.
just 0 to 100 real fast.
What are we doing? Musical mics?
So, I'm just going to talk real loud because Devin farted on this mic. God.
What'd you do?
She tried to make me deep throat this. Like, she put her hand on the back of my head and was like, go ahead, it's okay.
You said go closer to the mic, so I was just helping you out.
You could have moved my hand forward instead of moving my head
Yeah.
down.
Or
you
you just
better.
give the universal symbol for put it closer to your mouth.
What's that? Show me what that is.
It's just Luke.
Oh, shit. Anyways.
So, the presidential State of the Union address happened a couple days ago. And, I mean, it was filled with kind of normal politics and stuff. I did kind of like how Obama basically doesn't give a fuck anymore. He's got 2 terms left, and he's just going to start dropping bombs
He
on
has
people.
2 terms left.
2 terms, huh?
2 years
How
terms.
that works?
He's got a couple months.
Shut the fuck up, Christina.
You shut the fuck up and learn how to talk appropriately. Damn.
Appropriately?
Yeah, bitch.
Talk appropriately.
She can't even be hardcore for long, though. She just starts
I
laughing.
can't be hardcore,
Hey,
period.
let's do this podcast appropriately.
Appropriately? Appropriately?
That's right.
Proportionately?
Anyway, so Obama.
Obama, at one point in time, he was like, so, I've got no more campaigns to run. And there was a little bit of pause, and some Republican senators started applauding.
Yeah, no, fuck all that, though. You got all pissed off about how me and Christina agreed on minimum wage.
Yep.
Because you think people should be rich while they're going and getting an education to contribute anything to society.
Yup.
I really exaggerated that.
Oh, man, yeah, you did. I'm like, what the
No,
what
you
the
think
fuck?
people shouldn't work hard for their money. It's basically what it breaks down to, and I think that's
He's
bullshit.
like, people shouldn't be poor, or not poor, but like shouldn't have a whole bunch of money while they're going to school to try to get a better job.
That sentence didn't make sense. Basically,
Like people that work at McDonald's should be making more than they do while they're going to school to get a better job.
No, the way I see it is that
you have to contribute to society.
no
In order
working
to
person
contribute
in
to
America
society,
should
you
be
need to make
below
more
poverty
money.
line. Like, no working person should be below poverty line. That's really all it comes down to.
But if you have nothing to contribute other than
Hold on. I got no idea what's going on. Just let Luke say what he actually thought.
Luke has
basically,
to say his side, and then we can say our
Right,
side, though,
exactly.
Are you trying to get fancy?
He's garnishing his rum and coke with a celery stick.
Anyways,
So, long story short is I just don't think that any working person should end up being below the poverty line.
so your argument is everyone should make the minimum wage should be a livable wage.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Livable or $10 an hour.
That's not how you. That's not how you made it sound, though.
No,
you
that
made
is
it,
not how you made it
You
sound.
you said people shouldn't be in poverty while they're trying to make something of themselves.
That's
And you said people
what I
shouldn't-
just said.
Right.
People shouldn't. No, you said it that they shouldn't be in poverty working.
That's
I don't remember.
what I just said. They shouldn't be in poverty. How is that a hard concept to understand?
I think that you need to be a contributing member of society in order to be.
How are they-
part
Do
of
they have a
society.
job?
Okay, hold on.
No, the whole part of this comes
Work
down to the system
hard.
of having to get a degree. You can go online and learn anything you fucking want. You can buy a book for $20 at the bookstore and learn anything you want and be an awesome member
But
of
he's
society
saying-
That's why they have
and know
certification.
everything you need to do to be an engineer.
But he's saying-
since you don't have an engineering degree from a certain college at a certain point in time,
But he's
Then you
saying
can't do
while,
that
but he's
job.
saying while you're going to do that, you shouldn't. You should be making more than what people are making now.
So I worked hard to make the money I'm at now. So, but somebody can come in and make $10 an hour when I had to work hard to make $10 an hour before. That doesn't make any sense to me. So where I had to work hard to make $10 an hour, this person can just walk in off the street and turn fries over for $10 an hour.
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Welcome to times changing.
But
No,
it's not
it's-
like that right now.
Yeah.
Right. So things should change, in my opinion.
like it might suck at first, but I mean your job will never.
Like just because you're proud of where you are, which you should be. I mean, you've accomplished things. I'm not trying to take anything away from that.
I am. Fuck Steve.
He's talking about Christina.
Fuck,
He's talking about me,
fuck
asshole.
Christina.
Fuck you.
But
No.
I just think that
Later.
the floor should be higher. People should
Well,
start
then if
off
the
better.
floor should be higher, then I should be higher.
But see, all that's
I-
The only
You
fair,
actually
and
would
that's
be.
not what's happening.
At no point in time did I say that shouldn't happen.
And I'm just saying that that's not what's happening. The bill that was passed is not. That's not what's happening. These people are making $10 an hour, so they're getting closer to my wage, whereas I'm not making that bump.
But see,
that
yeah,
they're
and that's
making
what I was
that
going to
bump.
say. The numerical value doesn't matter because they would still be way down here while everyone else get moved up here.
Okay.
So
No,
their
it
cost of-
actually does, because essentially what they're trying to do is force companies to give more of their what's the word I'm looking for?
Their earnings back into the
back
economy.
of their earnings. So it does make it
Basically,
Right, but
you put
they're-
more money in more people's pockets.
it
They're gonna
actually
spend it, and
what you
prices
guys are
won't
talking
raise as
about
much.
actually weakens the dollar. You're saying it doesn't matter because everyone goes up proportionally, right? But it does actually matter because the more they hold, it actually makes the dollar weaker because there's less being spent overall.
Your mom makes the dollar.
Our
weaker.
economy is based on spending.
Right.
So the less it's being spent, actually our dollar weakens.
You're not. You don't have a microphone. They can't hear you.
I don't know, but just you saying that it should just be increased. Just bring them up.
At no point in time, I didn't offer a solution
What
on
was
how
all
it
this
would be
evidence
done.
you were looking up?
Yeah, you were looking up evidence, and now you're trying to play like I'm smarter than you guys, but when in reality we like dominated you in the
I'm not
conversation
saying
prior.
that. I'm just saying you were looking up all
Holy
kinds
shit,
of stuff.
she's like super aggro tonight, man.
Well, damn,
But you filled her up with shots.
they took our jobs.
You shot her up a whole bunch.
You did. They took our.
Holy shit!
Oh my god!
He's even giggling.
Please don't beat
Talk
me.
before I say.
Please, I didn't say a damn thing.
Yes, it is.
I'd be like, thank God, but it's
Oh, sweet
recording.
Jesus.
Fuck my life. Sweet Jesus. I would like to just say that I met. He shot me up with shots of alcohol. For the record.
You could. Why
That's what we thought. What are you talking about?
Shut the fuck
For real.
Shut the fuck up, Hunter.
Anyway,
It's my podcast. Damn it! No one tells me to shut up.
Yes, Massa.
all right, see me shooter. What were you saying? What?
No, I was just saying I'm not an economist. I don't know how we could be brought about in the best way. I just think that in this country where we have so much money that
We don't have any money. We're in such deficit.
the government is not the rest of the country.
The basic idea of raising the minimum wage is a good one, but at the same time, like you said with the economy, there's things that change that are outside your control. That just because you raise the minimum wage doesn't mean anything will change.
Right, no.
Everything else could increase.
It
even
could.
more proportionally.
Theoretically.
Which still makes
And
the
you don't
dollar
know.
a week. So if you're making the dollar a week doing that, why not raise my wage as well?
One of the big problems that I see is that there's so much wealth in that 1%. Like, so much is spiked towards one class of people, 1, 2, 3%.
Right, and you're
the population
look-
that own 800 billion.
and
for
you're
four
looking
people.
at one group of people, right? Like we're looking at like the bottom, right? And so you look at this one group of people, and you're like, well, these people going to school, while they're trying to get that degree to make themselves better, should be making more and everything. But if you looked at that whole group as a group, most of them aren't trying to better themselves.
Yeah, they're
and
playing.
trying-
Some of them are playing the system to get what they want.
That's the problem with the system. Is
And
it's
so
hard
if
to
you
regulate.
raise the minimum wage,
Yeah.
you'd be benefiting those guys that are those people that are trying
The
to like
few that
better
are
themselves
actually
and
bettering
everything.
themselves.
But you see what I mean? You'd also be giving to the people that are
Hold on.
working the system.
Here's a little bit of the difference, though. Let's agree most people are average. You got a few people that actually work hard and a few that game the system, right? Most people fall somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So if in general things are getting worse, but most people average, what would be the problem?
I think that depends on your class.
What?
I think the lower the class, the more people try to game the system.
Say that
Also,
again?
part of the other thing is that
But that's what I'm saying. Most people are in the middle. You got outliers on each end.
if people end up making a more livable wage, the need for welfare and things like that would start to decrease.
I don't think
Well,
so.
look at it this way.
I think
Right now-
that's another topic that you're bringing up is like that welfare. If I need do a P test, they need to do a P test. That's another thing that you can bring up. It's not just just raising the dollar amount for minimum wage isn't going to just fix everything with poverty level.
Who the
There's
fuck
other
started
things that-
talking?
It's like
I'm bringing it up, saying that's
Hold
another
on,
issue.
one at a time.
well, like what you just said right now, right? So let's say you were to get $15 more an hour. Is that going to change anything you're doing? What would you do with that extra money? Like
I don't
you
know.
would think differently in what you can spend and what you do with it and everything, but it's not going to change. Like what does it change other than that?
Is it
So
gonna
you take
inspire you to
you
do
take
more?
these people that are just average, not necessarily working the system, not necessarily working
Right.
super hard. All it's going to do is, hey, I can get another pair of Jordans this month.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
agree.
Or I can do whatever the fuck. Like I can go get another car. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it
Right,
doesn't
right.
make
That's
them strive for anything better. It's
I
just-
didn't. Hold on.
And
I
that's
never
what we-
said it did. Did I
But
say
but
that?
that's what we were talking about. That's what Steve and I were saying was that when the minimum wage is set that low,
right.
you have to strive to be better.
Right.
And
those-
you have to try to beat out that competition, and you
that's
want to be better
originally
and
how
go
it
to
got brought
college and
up.
be a better person.
is that while these people are going to college and trying to be better, they have to they're struggling. But once they achieve that, then it's like then they get the better job and now they're doing
Which
better.
makes them, have better character and better
I really
values.
thought you were going to have way more.
Well, I guess here's the.
There's a problem in
In my
generally
opinion.
raises in general is getting a raise. You feel like you're making more money when a lot of times your raise is keeping up with the norm of society and
Right.
inflation. So you get paid more money. You think you can.
Well,
spend
actually,
more when
that's
you
not
really
true.
can't.
Your
In
raise is
some
not because
instances
you
it
know
can
about-
be.
in about.
How
I
much
think-
is there?
Hold on, hold on. I think-
2%, 3%.
No, I'm saying in like
How shitty are
1983.
your reviews?
I forget what it was. Like the early 80s, late 70s. The average median salary for a middle-aged employee, male or female, was about 53,000. Today, it's like 55. The wage has not kept up with production.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's exactly what I just said.
No, it's not.
Is you're getting a wage increase and you're not being able to buy any
Yeah,
more.
that's-
No, no.
He said
I
it
just
on a
showed
smaller
you.
scale.
I just showed you how it's way below it. It's not keeping up with
Yeah,
it.
he
It's
said
far
that-
below it. Like productivity has gone up since the same time. I think they said
You
2,700%.
mean like the cost of living, and we're still making the same amount, pretty
Right.
much.
No, us. Even us.
Just like average middle class American.
Yeah, they're even more screwed. Yeah, we
holding
brought
the
this up for
microphone.
you. God damn it, Luke.
We got all deep.
He's trying not to get mad. That's
He sees things
No.
very strongly about this.
Well, and if you're a company, and like, let's say you're our company, and they say, oh, you got to pay these 300 people, you got to pay all of them $5 more an hour.
That could bankrupt a
you
small
could-
local company.
Or you could say, I'm going to pass that on and raise all my prices for my certain services that I provide.
Which
And that
then
makes
raises the cost of living.
Exactly, and
That's
that's what
actually
that
not-
was showed as a lot when you raise the minimum wage.
Right, but
is you
they-
raise the average cost of that region.
They've
So,
also hold on.
Damn.
They've also done studies though where they've actually increased the minimum wage, and you're correct. Goods and services do increase in cost, not to the same ratio. They increase by a much smaller amount.
But I don't think
forget,
it's...
if it was like Idaho or somewhere, they have. So if you work at a restaurant in a lot of places, there's even lower minimum wage, like 3 something. And they wanted to force it up. In a few states, they did
tips.
by like $2 more, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's going to raise about it raised." I think they said the average price per meal was 35 cents for customers, but the people working got like a $2 pay raise.
Because the reason why
There's so many industries. That's one industry.
right,
But
That's
here-
the
here's-
point. The raise doesn't cost as much as you think.
Here's
it
the thing,
does.
though, is that you put more money in
But
more
you're putting
people's
the 35
pockets.
cents
The
on
prices aren't going to
entire
raise as much
country.
because they're
I
just going to
don't-
be selling more products.
But I don't think the issue with the economy and all that is just raising the minimum wage. There's a lot of things with the poverty line that they...
At no
that
point did I ever say
government...
that.
I'm just saying my opinion. Calm the fuck down.
We're talking about minimum wage.
I know, but I'm just saying that
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the only issue with the lower poverty level. I
Well,
think there's
I agree. Like
there's
one
a
issue.
lot of things like food stamps that help assist you, which make people abuse the government allowances that people get.
Let's be real here, though. People on the very bottom and people on the very top abuse the shit out of the government.
I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying that there are
Right,
some people
but-
that do abuse it and some people that don't.
Right, but if
you're
you're
helping out both sides.
Nah, yes and no. And even if you help out everyone, how is that a bad thing?
But then you're bringing it back to the issue of you're raising the poverty level, or raising the minimum.
I'll tell you
wage,
it's a bad
but-
thing because I actually know people like chicks or whatever that have 3 kids by 3 different dads and get food stamps and WIC and have no intentions of ever fucking what did he say?
Because they're
Yeah, right? Has no intentions of doing anything to contribute
Because they're
to
getting-
anything
yeah.
because they're getting it.
They're
And
getting
all you're
government
saying
assistance.
is, hey, those people, let's give them a little more.
Yeah, they're
How-
getting
how-
government.
hold on, hold
no,
on,
they're getting,
hold- stop.
getting government
Christina.
assistance. Shut your mouth.
Christina.
They're getting government assistance.
Christina, they're not
No, but
working.
I'm listening.
They're not
I know
working.
they're not working.
One
but
at a
what
How
I'm
does
trying
it
to say?
impact them? How does a minimum wage increase impact people that don't work?
What?
He's got you there.
How does a minimum wage increase impact people that don't work?
But I'm not saying that they don't work. I'm saying, for example,
I see what you're saying. He's saying like they're 2 different things. People that like just live off the government and people that actually
Right.
work are 2 different groups of people.
but what you were saying initially was that it was just
Have to go up. Everything will have to go up. If you impose a minimum wage that's higher on any company in any region, then everything goes up in their budget. If
But-
they want to make the same amount of money, they're going to increase their prices.
But what
if they
Luke was
increase
saying
their
was that it
prices,
doesn't-
then the cost of living goes up. If the cost of living goes up, then the payment for
But
government
Luke already
services
said-
will go up.
Luke already said that when in tests that show that it doesn't go up as much as it would in other instances.
It's not even tests, it's real world.
Yeah, the raise is not proportional to the
but that's-
cost it goes
Those
I
up.
know
are
we keep
isolated
bringing up
instances.
other
Like
things.
just
No.
because in the restaurant
But, well,
industry
that's-
it's 35 cents.
But it's all connected, is what I was saying.
Right, but
It's
basically,
that's just what I'm trying to get at,
the
is that
way I
everything's
see it is
connected.
that people that work should have a livable wage. That's really the end of it.
Yeah, and there is a problem. I'm not saying that's wrong.
Right. I
No,
mean, it's
yeah,
a
we're
very
not saying it's
convoluted
wrong.
process. I'm not trying to degrade anybody's effort, but I'm saying that if you have a job that you work at least 40 hours a week,
No. That's the thing. Like what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you do, you know what you do. You understand what you do. You're saying that
Hold on. I got to
the
just real
person
quick.
that packs 200 mints into this thing should be making
they're in
more
China.
than they make now.
They're in China.
But
No,
you
hold
understand
on.
what I'm saying, though?
Well,
like,
hold
if
on,
let's
hold
say
on,
it's
hold
here
on.
in the
Like a
States,
basic
the
skill.
person that packs this should be making more than they're making now.
They should be able to at least make sure they're not in poverty.
Yeah, hold on. Hold. Shh. You have to talk in the mic, but hold on.
If you
Don't
work
talk-
40
no,
hours
I've
a
got
week,
hold on.
no
I
matter
got
what
something
you
to say.
do, then you have to be able
Stop
to make
talking.
a livable wage.
You
I
realize,
agree with that.
Hold on. You realize for most of America's history that was true, right? If you worked full time, you could make a livable wage. Yeah, you can't do
And
that
right
anymore.
now, from what I gathered from
Yeah,
the
and
bill
you're
that
arguing
passed,
against that.
Right, but from what I gathered
Right.
from the bill that passed, it was something like, "Oh, we have to play catch up now."
But see, I know a lot of people
Yeah.
that are in that lower end and don't make enough for a livable wage, but go and get the newest whatever the fuck. Like they got a
they
new
spend their money
iPhone.
wrong.
They got to like, and that to me almost like it seems like how are you able to do that?
It's just there's 2 sides to every story. Like there's the person that spends it on new Nikes, or the person that's saving up to feed their kids
To go to school.
Yeah,
But hold on.
Those people, I
that's
would
one-
agree
yeah,
with
those
you.
people. Yeah, I would
That's
agree
one
with
thing
you.
I was going to bring up. We're talking about this whole thing is the increased price of college and the added unnecessary classes. They're just making it more and more difficult to get an education.
I mean, it really comes down to at no point in time in America, in the quote-unquote greatest country in the world, should any of our citizens be living below the poverty line.
Well,
Even if you barely contribute to.
yeah, you need to contribute to
No,
society.
he said people work 40 hours a week to live on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then it's a job. It's a job that
It
they
doesn't
need
matter
to,
what you do. If you do something, if you work 40 hours a week, you should be able to. Just like back.
I'm
in the
not
day,
saying you need to
if
make
worked,
40,000
you
or
were-
30,000 a year.
Back in the day, no matter what your job was, if you worked, you were able to keep up. But now the minimum wage hasn't kept up with that. So whatever
they're
whatever
playing
the
catch up
minimum
now.
is to keep at the poverty level is not what you're making per hour, and it's not based on. How do I explain this?
Okay, but
just because you raise the minimum wage isn't going to solve it. We've had an issue of the money going out and feeding away from that certain population.
Right. Even if you're the guy that packs 200 mints into here and you're not the guy that like configures networks and shit, fine. Live within your means.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how much you make, live within your means.
But back in the day,
You
working,
can afford milk
you work
and
1 hour, you could buy 2 gallons of milk and 3 loaves of bread.
And even if
now
you
work
are-
1 hour, you can get a gallon of milk.
And
Period.
even if you are working and you're making a very low amount, the government still does assist you. Like, it's not working the system if you actually need the assistance. But
There's just some people that do.
but fuckers that go out and get the new iPhone 6 and got, bling bling and shit, like
The
that,
iPhone
that
6 on their
doesn't make, that
lifeline.
doesn't make any sense.
you said
to
butt
me.
fuckers.
You know what I mean? Like
Hold
those,
on, you're arguing two different things.
No, because he's saying that they should have with livable means or
Right,
whatever.
but now you're arguing that their mentality is wrong. Those are two
Just
different
because
We've been
there are
saying that the
people
whole
with,
time, though.
with personal irresponsibility with finances.
yeah, because you
Okay.
can't give more to the good people without giving more to the shitty people.
things. That's right.
That's welcome to a country.
I know.
Well,
this.
and you've taken the
I'm
services
saying.
away from a local community standpoint and put it in a federal level. Instead of you living in Anchorage and being like, okay, we have
Yeah.
47 homeless people.
Where-
We could take care of that. We
Yeah.
could home them.
Where
We
Hawaii
could
has
have
like
a
4,700.
Well,
Exactly.
Then do it
and
on
now
a
it's
state
on a federal level to where everyone doesn't
yeah.
give a fuck.
And especially since like somewhere where like Alaska, the issues with
Alcoholism,
no, alcoholism is bad, but I'm saying with like
marijuanaism.
I have no idea what you're trying to
like
say.
getting jobs and stuff. What am I trying to say?
Our job market
Lazy
is
Our
better
job
than
Racism.
some
market is
places.
way better, and it didn't. The crash didn't affect us like it did lower 48. So stuff like that should be on a state level. But now we're getting into something different,
It is on a state level. We increased our state minimum wage, not the federal.
right? But not up. Yeah, but that was by a federal.
No,
Like-
the,
No,
the
it wasn't.
federal
We voted
minimum
on
wage
it.
is way lower
Yeah,
than
the
ours.
federal minimum wage has always been lower than Alaska's minimum
Right, but
wage.
it's something that the federal government has been trying to push on.
Well, it
in
doesn't
every,
matter.
Are
They're
you
still
talking about the
behind
most
us.
recent thing Obama did with
Yeah.
okay, to clear that up, what
I'm
that
probably
was,
wrong. I don't look at
what
the
that
law.
what that minimum wage was for federal like contractors to increase their minimum wage.
Okay, so yeah, I shouldn't
Working
argue when
for
I
the
don't know the
federal
full
government.
story.
Yeah, the minimum wage for the
Get
whole
outta here.
country
Right.
is something that wants to be raised in like I think it's 2017. But when he said, "Oh, I want to raise minimum wage to 10 something an hour," that was for federal contractors. See, I looked that up because like I wrote a paper on it or whatever, and I was like, "Wow, that's kind of fucked up, really convoluted." That he just said, "I want to raise minimum wage," but he meant for one specific type of worker. But it's like, okay, here's the thing though: if you give money to a bum, right, and you give him $5,
Do you do that, by the way? Just offhanded. You don't have to tell me. I'm just asking.
No, I don't.
Okay.
On the way driving home today, I gave a bum a hand warmer and a Chewy bar
Yeah, I usually do that. I give
What
them
about
like
a
food.
hand
or
why did you
something,
have
or
that
socks.
stuff?
because like no, I honestly
Not cold out.
make fun of me, but like I genuinely feel bad for homeless people when I drive
Yeah.
by them.
Right.
My
Whether they're
friends-
alcoholics or they had a hard fucking time where they lost their job, lost their home, lost their wife, everything at once. I don't know what the fuck happened to this
My
guy.
friends and I
Whether
use-
he
Oh,
looks
shit, I
drunk
didn't
or
think
not,
about that.
He could use a hand warmer and a Chewy bar.
My
True.
My friends.
But
used
if you knew, if he had a sign that said, "I'm gonna buy alcohol,"
to-
would
a
you
lot
give
of
him
people do
more?
that.
No,
You wouldn't.
No.
But that's what you're saying that you want to do.
But that's why you give them goods and materials instead. So like my friends and I know this is stupid, but my friends and I used to go bowling, and you know that I don't know which bowling alley it is, but they give you socks if you don't have any. I don't know. So when we were done,
Jewel Lake.
Jewel Lake, when we were
I
done,
don't
we
know.
would. I don't know. When we were done,
Shout
we would
out to
give
Jewel
those-
Lake Bowl, Neon Bowling every Thursday
We would have
night.
our
I
own.
bet that.
We would have have our own socks though, so we would just take those new ones that no one used and just give them to a homeless person.
Steve, I wouldn't give a man with the sign that says I'm going to buy alcohol more money because he doesn't have a job. If he worked 40 hours a week.
You see my point?
He just made
No,
a
but
face
that's
like, "I just
that's
got you."
essentially the sense of his argument. He's saying people who work give them more, not people who don't work.
You can
That
fall
guy
into a
works
state
more than
where you
40
can't
hours.
get a
He stands
job.
on the road for longer.
Negative 30 degree
You can fall into a
weather.
state where that guy on the side of the road, who is going to hire him?
Unemployment is a bit of a different issue.
Who hires this?
Unemployment is not.
One set of clothes,
Let's say he
stinky,
did it-
cold, dry.
Let's say he did it correctly, because don't you have to get a permit to do that?
No, we looked that up. You don't have to get a permit to panhandle, but
If
it's
you can't
illegal
give
if you
them money.
step into the street. You can stand on any sidewalk and get as much money as you
I
want
thought
from
they
anybody.
changed it where you couldn't give them
but if
couldn't
you
give 'em any
step
money.
in the
But you
street,
see
it's
my
illegal
point, though?
because it's a safety issue.
If you know this dude is going to spend that money on shit that is garbage for him, would you still give him more?
So you're saying you can make that blanket statement about 20% of America?
But you're making that blanket statement about the poverty line.
I have good faith in humanity that at least if you make things better for people, things might get a little bit better.
Don't try to make me look like the asshole.
I'm not. You are.
I'm being a realist.
Boom!
Holy shit, I'm being a realist right now.
No.
New one for me.
No, you guys keep arguing about handouts. Luke's saying give a hand up. Like, essentially help the people that are trying.
I'm not.
And you get, but
the difficult
well,
part is who wants a hand
Right,
up.
that's where
no,
I
no,
was
no, no.
themselves
Hold on.
and
He's,
who wants a
hold on.
handout.
He said increase minimum wage, which helps people who are working. Doesn't affect people who have food stamps on welfare. They get nothing more.
But you still can get
Right.
federal assistance in some.
It will eventually come to that.
How do you know that?
If you raise the minimum wage, you raise the price for the businesses. The businesses raise the prices for the general purchase of anything in that region,
Right.
and the cost of living in that region goes up.
Right,
And
but we
all
already-
the social services are based on cost of living in that area.
Right, but we also just proved that it's not proportional to the raise. Like, the cost of living is not.
Because of one restaurant study.
No, this was in a whole state.
But if you want to say that, you could say the minimum wage throughout.
Well,
since
here,
the 1920s
Devin, here's
has
the
not
difference.
kept up.
We did a test and it worked. You have no test that proves it doesn't work.
From the 1920s to 2000, it didn't work.
What didn't work? Give me an
minimum
example.
wage, just like you're saying, raising the minimum wage helped more, and it didn't raise the cost of produce, or didn't cost any goods didn't go up. But that's
it
not
didn't
true.
it didn't keep
because
up with it.
as you raise the minimum wage, the cost of goods went up more because you can't buy as much now. That is the exact
even said
opposite
that
of what you're
with-
saying.
No. You don't understand economics, I don't think.
Say it one more time.
Hold on. Everything.
Say what you're saying.
Everything went up, right? But let's put it.
Everything? What everything went up?
Everything you buy. Every single thing. Every single thing you buy
For
went up,
minimum
right?
wage, it should be
But
increased.
inflation did not keep up with the minimum wage.
What you're saying is if you raise the minimum wage, inflation will go up less. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That is not true in the last 70 years. The
But-
minimum wage has gone up and inflation has increased more than the minimum wage.
Right, because it didn't keep up with it. That's the point.
Exactly, because it's not in one and one. If you raise the minimum wage, inflation goes up more than what the minimum wage was.
Our
No, you
podcast-
have no evidence that's
Saving
true.
the minimum wage
Our podcast
doesn't
is named
cause
Moose Knuckle,
the price
which
of shit
is
to go
a
up.
comedic terms for tight pants on a man.
But
So
hold on.
here's the thing, though.
You're
Here-
just arguing
You
what.
have a restaurant study, and I have 70 years of economic
Okay.
evidence.
No.
But-
What you're citing is not the same thing. You
Devin, inflation.
In 1920,
no,
you
hold
could
on.
buy 20 loaves of bread in an hour,
It-
and now you can buy one loaf
Okay,
of bread with what you make in
after
an hour.
after unions were created after the
It's
Industrial
exactly the opposite of
Revolution.
what you're arguing.
And Devin, hang on. So inflation happens regardless if the minimum wage goes up or not. The minimum wage is increased in an attempt to keep up with inflation. It has been raised in insignificant and insufficient amounts throughout the past 70 years in an attempt to keep up with that rate. Inflation will happen no matter if you increase the minimum wage or anything
That's
like
not
that.
true.
Absolutely.
No, it's not.
Absolutely.
Inflation doesn't happen just
Yes, it
because
does.
Devin,
you
Where
raise
did
the
Devin,
minimum wage.
hang on.
If you can't minimum
Devin,
wage the
Devin,
same,
stop,
inflation's
stop.
not gonna happen.
Devin, hang on. So here's the thing. Inflation happens when the value of a currency decreases. That can happen for a myriad of reasons. It happened after World War I. We made Germany basically go broke because it was trying to pay back all the rest of the countries that it was with. You had to use 40 million francs to buy a single loaf of bread. Not francs, that's Swiss. I can't remember the name of the currency, but basically we made the
How many francs?
40 million.
That's a lot of francs.
Shut the fuck up. So inflation can happen for a number of reasons. As a matter of fact, inflation happens when we start printing more and more of our currency. That causes inflation.
That is a cause. That is not the cause.
We need to get rid of the penny.
Hold on. Here's a perfect example. Hold on. Here's a perfect example of what we're talking about. You're talking about loaves of bread, right? So if you have an extra cold winter and you don't grow enough wheat, the price of bread goes up. That has nothing to do with the minimum wage.
It also has nothing to do with
There's
inflation.
several factors involved. And
But your
minimum wage is
argument was-
not the only factor.
Minimum
But in
wage
this
actually-
country, what's that going to
That's
do?
been my
Raise the
argument
price
the
of bread by
entire time.
5 cents? Oh, fuck, we should raise minimum wage. It doesn't affect us like that,
That was a
dude.
specific example.
But you know
to
what I mean? Like,
illustrate a
that-
point.
Holy
And
shit.
it's not globalized to
All
the
right,
argument.
all right, stop. I'm fucking done. New topic. Fuck this shit.
Drug snit dog. What's a snit dog?
Sniffing.
What?
dog.
Devin. All right, let's hear the story.
Everyone already skipped this podcast because
No, they didn't.
No.
Maybe
All right,
not.
Devin, go.
We didn't grow a bunch of wheat, so we got to talk about drug snit dogs.
I almost got arrested when I was in Hawaii because of marijuana.
Marijuana.
See, this could be good.
While I was unemployed from my current employer, I went to Hawaii on a vacation.
That is a really
and
specific thing.
I specifically quit only to partake in marijuana.
Are you serious?
Are you fucking kidding me? Do you not
Oh, you
listen
guys
to any
can't do it
story
now,
I ever
can you?
tell you?
I thought it was just like a bonus, but you wanted to go to
You guys
school.
can't. I forgot you guys
No,
can't do that
school
over.
was the bonus. Not working was the bonus. I quit because I want to smoke marijuana.
So you did quote unquote school
no, I went
The
to
school of
Anyway.
marijuana
and got straight A's and got it paid for.
with marijuana.
Anyways,
On
so you
marijuana.
went to
On
fucking
marijuana.
Hawaii.
Anyway,
On
so I go to
marijuana.
Hawaii, and weed's expensive there. I don't know if it's just because I'm a tourist or because it's Hawaii in general. What I've heard is usually
I
when
heard
you
it's
buy
actually expensive there.
when you buy an eighth, it's usually $40.
It's like
our
60 there,
terms,
isn't
and
it?
there it's $60.
Yeah.
And everyone I talked to,
I
was
mean,
60.
I don't know.
And everyone I talked to there was 60, and I wasn't even getting a full eighth. It was like skimped out. And I imagine if I was selling it to tourists that were in town, I would do the same thing. Because you got nowhere to go. You don't know a drug dealer.
And you're on an
so,
island.
Yeah, exactly. I went to the fucking skate park, and I was talking to like 16 and 17-year-old kids.
That's sad.
Yeah. Anyways, so
You're lucky no cops are
this
around.
guy that I
They're with
know
other
went to the
things.
skate park and got some marijuana. Anyway, so the time I'm there, smoking, doing it, having a good time, everything's great. This one guy actually comes up to us when we're on one of our tours and is like, "Oh, I'm selling some weed. You want anything?"
Oh yeah, people just do that there. They're like, want some?
Yeah, and it was like,
how
2
do you
days.
know?
It was like 2 days before we were about to leave, and we were almost out. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'll get some." But when we ended up leaving, we didn't have a lot. I mean, we didn't have just a little bit. Like we had more than a bag, like $60, $100 worth. And I didn't want to throw it away. I definitely wasn't going to take it on the fucking plane with me.
How much is 60 to 100 bucks worth?
Like
Less
a
than an
bag,
eighth?
more than a bag. An eighth.
Hold on, keep going.
What? That doesn't matter. Steve has no idea anyways.
Anyway, so the thing is, I didn't want to just throw this weed away. I didn't want it to get wasted.
Do you really not know?
After the podcast, it's almost over.
That's $100 worth?
Here it's like 40. There it's like 60.
Okay.
And I was getting like that for like 100, 120.
Okay.
Anyway, so I got this leftover, and I mean, I'm not going to roll joints all day. I bought a pipe. We went to a pipe store. I spent like 10, 15 bucks on a cheap pipe. Like, not a lot. But, so we're about to leave. It's the day we're going to leave. I got like, $100 worth of pipe and marijuana. And I didn't want to just throw it away. And the same thing with our beer. We had beer and liquor left over. I went out in the parking lot of our hotel and looked around until I saw some guy and was like, "Hey, do you drink?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "We're leaving today. Would you like all the alcohol from my room?" And so I gave him like a fifth of Jack, like a 2-liter of Coke, like
For
6.
free?
Yeah. I was
Damn.
like, "Here's like 6 beers and like
Could you just been like, hey, give me like 20
Three
bucks.
But
Gatorades
you
and
doubled down on the pot though,
no,
right?
like 3 Gatorades and a water." I didn't know this guy. I'm not going to risk it like that. But I thought going to the airport, like I was going to see some stoner-ass motherfucking hippie dude get off the plane. So I had this on me, looking around. I'm just looking for some...
the airport.
No, not to the airport. This is like the day of. We didn't leave till like 3 or 4.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, I don't want to waste this. I'm really going to find someone. It's Hawaii, too. A lot of people smoke. So I'm trying to give this to someone that I think will benefit from this. And what's the worst they're going to say is like, "Fuck you, get away from me, pothead," or "No, I don't want your free
Or
drugs."
I'm a cop.
Yeah.
That would have been the bad one.
That could have happened. Anyways, so we get to where we return the rental
Wait,
car.
hold on. I don't think he'd get in that much trouble because he's trying to give somebody weed. He's not charging him. I think that'd
Still
just be like a
illegal to have it.
I mean,
misdemeanor.
I could still get in trouble.
But that'd be like a
possession.
misdemeanor ticket.
Exactly.
But how are you walking around just like, I'm going to ask that guy if he wants
Because that's
this.
what people do.
That's what
how
happened in my
that's how he
mind
probably got
because
it
I'm a
sold.
kind soul.
Hold on.
And I gave it
Steve.
to no one because I'm a
But you don't want to
paranoid
increase
soul.
minimum wage.
Shut the fuck up. Hold on. We live in Alaska. There's plenty of people that smoke weed here. You never been walking around and you're like, I know that motherfucker smokes weed. That's what he's talking about.
I have a generalized
does that in
idea of
Hawaii,
who those
though.
people are.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to do was gift my. I got touristed and I spent $100 on $30 worth of
And
weed.
you wanted to make
I
a
want you to
tourist.
have this.
Yeah.
And you have a great time in Hawaii.
Keep the mic near your mouth.
And so I get all through the day. I don't see anyone that I would feel comfortable talking to or giving it to. We get to the car rental return place. We turn in our car. Next stop is the fucking airport. So I'm like, fuck it. I go to the bathroom and I haven't found anyone
Hold on.
yet.
I got a quick question. Did the rental car have an ashtray?
I don't remember. I don't think
Dude,
so.
could have been a surprise gift. Could have just snuck it in there.
Oh, no. It was a Jeep. We had like one of the ones you could take the shit off of.
The Wrangler?
Like Wrangler, I think that's what it is.
Right.
Anyway, we get to the rental car place. Nothing's happening. I fucking finally am like, fuck it. I take it out of my pocket. I wrap it in a whole bunch of toilet paper like it's a bloody tampon and shove it in the trash can. You know what I'm talking about.
You throw it in the toilet and flush it. Okay.
They're not flushable.
You're not supposed to flush those.
Oh, in Hawaii, no, you can't because of
No.
No,
Everywhere.
On a tampon?
No.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to flush
Toilet
tampons.
paper
can.
is
How
water
fucking
degradable.
horrible. How horrible is
You
that? That
can't
the
if
three
you're
of
on
us
the-
are
if
sitting
you're
here
on the
going, no,
city
you're not
water.
supposed.
No.
You know why?
Just don't
That is
do it
Because
when
she's not fixing the
No.
fucking toilet if it gets clogged. That's
Wait,
why.
don't you
It
have-
doing?
doesn't get clogged.
You're
Hey.
running around throwing like fucking
Hey,
Triceratops shits in toilets.
talk about
You
this.
There's
have a-
fucking shit up everywhere you go.
you have a septic tank now, don't you?
Yeah, I can't do it.
Don't flush.
I know I can't
tampons.
do it.
You
We just
can't
gotta
do it on
what we
city
can't do.
water either.
Just wrap them
I don't
bitches
give a
up
shit.
in a
That's
bunch
why
of
there's a
toilet
little metal
paper.
bin like a
Holy
mailbox. You
hold
deliver
on.
that shit.
I know what her house looks like now, and I just thought she has a septic tank. You know what a bitch that thing would be to fix if
Oh
something
my
goes
god,
wrong?
that
Just
before we
leaks
closed,
down the
it
mountain.
failed.
Yeah,
No, no, no,
exactly.
no.
Bloody
No.
tampons
No,
down.
listen,
Fucking-
before we closed on the house, the septic failed. They had to replace it,
That's nice. That's
and
good.
it was a bitch.
But
for
let me
them
finish
to
the
do.
story first.
I
Let me
bet.
finish the story. Anyway,
Sorry.
so I'm at the rental car return. We return the rental car. I take this weed out and I throw it away because I'm finally like, fuck it. I'm not going to find anyone. I'm not going to go to the airport. You got TSA and dogs everywhere.
Someone would have picked it up.
Now I think you're talking about a
You get like
tampon. I'm like,
fingerprints
why
and
would
shit.
you
I don't
leave a
want the wrong
tampon on
person
the
to find it.
Wait a
Bitch,
minute.
you're not gonna fingerprint
Yeah.
a random bag on a toilet.
I'm
We're gonna catch this motherfucker.
That's what I said. Is like I'm a kind soul. I want to share my marijuana.
Wait, also-
but I'm also a paranoid soul.
Wait, also,
I don't want to get
hold
busted.
on,
I
hold
don't
on.
think it's
Hold-
your soul. I
hold
think
on,
it's the
hold on.
marijuana.
Where are they getting your fingerprints from? What registry are you in?
Tell us
top
about
secret clearance, the military.
his
They have
fake-
all
his
my
fake
fingerprints.
emancipation.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that normal fucking
emancipation.
like law enforcement, like Hawaii
It goes into the
PD,
FBI
is it?
database.
Bitch, they ain't running
Yeah.
fingerprints they
I
found
know
on
but
a
I'm saying,
$100 bag
I-
of weed in
I'm
an
not saying
airport.
they will. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to risk that. I have a paranoid mindset. The whole point of the story
Yeah,
is...
anyway.
We got to catch this motherfucker.
The whole point of the story is I throw it away. We go to the airport, and somehow, like, I don't wash my hands. And so we're waiting in line to get on the...
Surprise!
What's ooh?
Yeah, big surprise.
That's disgusting.
He never does.
From what?
If you listen to any
if
of
you
the,
go into any sort of public restroom, you wash your fucking hands
look
before
at
you
me.
leave.
Do not
walk
ever
in
take,
and, like, finger the bowl. And,
do
like,
not ever take food or anything from Devin. He doesn't wash his hands ever.
No, it's different.
That's
now,
why
'cause
you
his
told
daughter.
me eat the
Oh, that's
potato
right.
and wipe off the sour cream for you because you didn't want me to touch your. You want? Never mind.
Anyways, you forgot to wash your hands.
Anyway, I get to the airport. We check our bags in. We're waiting in line for TSA. I got all the rest of her family because we went with like 20 people. They're all in security already. So I get a dozen. What's that donut? The one they
Krispy
bring up
Kreme?
Krispy Kreme. Dozen Krispy Kremes. We're waiting to go through TSA.
Damn.
I did the
For
same
real?
thing when I was in
Waiting
Hawaii.
to go through TSA. I got and the weed pocket and my weed hand. I want to say is my left hand.
Do you like residue
And
on
I
your
got
left
the
hand?
No, you just got the smell, and I got a dozen donuts in my right hand, and so I'm sitting there,
Is that how you're
a little
carrying
bit
them?
of high, la 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 la. All of a sudden, something's touching my hand, and I look down, and it's the
puppy.
fucking drug dog
It's a puppy.
with the DEA agent
No, it's
right
not
up
a
next to
puppy.
me,
It's
sniffing my
puppy.
pocket, sniffing my hand, and everyone around me is like, "Oh, he must want some donuts." I'm like, "Oh yeah, he wants a fucking Krispy Kreme."
I would have
He
held them
pulls
bitches.
away and walks and keeps walking.
Holy
on.
shit! That
I'm
would
like,
I would
oh,
piss
thank
my
fucking
pants.
God.
I would
I didn't
piss
have
my
any
pants.
drugs on me, but if they did that wipey thing,
No,
where they
what
test
the
for all those shit.
They
No.
do that. I had to do that in
That's what that
Cozumel on the
cloth
way
is.
out.
You know what that cloth is?
They're gonna sit
No,
there
no, no,
and
no,
cloth
no, no,
the
no,
inside
no,
of
test
your
for
pocket.
particles for
Yep.
drugs or explosive devices.
No, they did that to me in Cozumel when I was on
Yeah,
my
exactly.
Right.
security
But no.
checkpoint
But
that I had
here's
to go
the
through.
difference. Then they would have searched you, and you would have had nothing. So
You
they
would've
would have
had-
had
yeah.
nothing.
But the same fucking thing. I'm high. I'm standing in TSA. I don't want any of that attention. Period.
No, I
They would
get
have
that.
looked at,
I
and
get
I'm not.
that.
I'm high as fuck. They're gonna look at me and be like, "Sir, you're blazed." I'd be like, "Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I don't think they're going to
Please let me go."
I don't think they're going to use
Nope.
the word blaze.
We got to
Yeah, I'm sure-
contact
yeah, I'm sure
CSI and bring them over.
20 years minimum.
FBI is going to do the fucking fingerprint
We're going to
check.
do a.
How often you smoke weed?
But still, you
How
didn't
often
have
you s-
anything on you.
How often you smoke weed?
Like I regardless of how
You're
often
not answering
I've
the question.
done it,
Look
I
at
never
he's
do.
diving around it.
I don't ever do. I know.
diving around.
But
it.
you have.
You're getting
So
scared
how
and bouncing around the
often?
question. So
Yeah,
you
you're
don't think
dancing
I could
around
get
it.
nervous?
You didn't have.
You can't even answer
anything
the question.
on you.
Yeah, but you're dancing around it. So which means that you've done it before. So
I have.
That means that you have a point in time where you have. Did you just mock me?
I did mock you.
Right. He did it that day or whatever, but had nothing on him. Regardless if they
how
swabbed
often-
him,
if you have done it
dog
before-
checked him, the FBI came and did fingerprint
We're not
checks.
talking about that.
Doesn't
We're talking
fucking
about-
matter. He didn't do anything
We're
wrong.
talking about how
If
you
they
dance around
swabbed
the
it and
subject,
had the
though.
residue, then you could charge you with something.
That's like me driving
I
tomorrow.
might beat it,
and
but I
being
mean,
like,
I'm not there to risk that. I'm not a fucking lawyer. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm high. I'm 28. I'm scared. There's a dog with his fucking nose in my dick. Okay?
Hey, I thought he was in your pocket.
Yeah, where's my dick?
I thought you got a baby dick though.
It's hard.
Wait a minute. So there's an age where when you're high and a dog is in your dick, you're not going to be scared? Because you said 28.
2 years old.
Oh, okay.
No boners.
Oh my god.
No, I get what you're saying. Paranoid.
You get
That's,
fucking
that's,
paranoid.
that's hella
Anyway,
paranoid.
There's
back
no
to the
reason.
serious
Like that
question.
doesn't sound
Siri, what's up with Siri?
Back to the serious question.
Siri
How
with the
often
huge
Well, no,
dick.
but
do you
see,
smoke?
here's the
I've only done
reason.
it
Here's
4
the
times.
reason, like real hippie dudes who think weed's good for you talk about, you get so paranoid, is because it's super introspective. So he's just thinking about himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
That's
people.
how that's what Jen when she says when she smoked weed she doesn't like to be around people.
Someone
Yeah.
looks
In her
at you
head.
and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you're looking at my fucking soul. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, she
No.
knows. She's looking at me. Oh my
No.
God, am I acting
I
weird?
know a lot
What am
of
I doing?
people-
Oh, did I spell that word wrong?
I know a lot of people
Yes,
who like to
if you're
smoke
me,
and then like
yes.
do their artistic work while they're
Really?
doing that, like
I
write
wouldn't-
songs or paint or anything
I wouldn't
like
take
that.
you as the paranoid
because
type,
it's
though.
introspective.
There's a comfortable zone to be in.
Yes, and that's
And
why they like smoking by
in
themselves.
public, going through a security checkpoint
one of 'em.
for fucking Homeland
Nope.
Security
But
and
see,
TSA
if you
and
know-
Hawaii. You've
if-
never fucking been there.
And then
That's
a puppy!
scary as shit.
A
But
puppy!
hold on, here's a little bit of the difference too. From the stories you've told me, you're like a OG. You should be fucking breezing through security.
Not
Like,
just
was.
fuck the police.
I worked at our place of business for like a year and a half. So when I went on this vacation, I hadn't smoked in like 2 years.
Right. But I would think
And I'm
if
like,
you
I'm
know
kinda
that's how
calm about
if
it.
you know that's how you are, why would you smoke before you go to the airport?
When's the last time you threw up when you're drinking?
Huh?
If you knew you were going to throw up if you drank that much, why would you drink that much?
But
It
I
sneaks up on you. You don't know. There's parts about
like right
everything
now
you don't
I know if I finish this I'm not going to throw up.
Last time we did the podcast, you didn't remember the last 2 podcasts.
Right. Right. And
Why
it's when
would you
get-
do that if you knew if you drank
because
X amount
I have
of liquor
an
you wouldn't
asshole
remember?
for a friend who said, "Let's take a shot, Steve. Let's take a shot."
or you got an
And then I got
awesome
an asshole
buddy.
for a girlfriend who's going, "Yeah, you should take a shot, Steve." I'm okay.
so
I'll
so you
do
can't
it.
handle peer pressure?
What? You can't handle airport security?
No.
Those are two completely different things.
I said no. Can you handle peer pressure?
Obviously not.
Okay.
Except how many shots have I taken tonight?
I don't know. I'm too drunk to remember. Let's take a shot.
Let's do it.
What's this? Episode 31?
Yep.
Look.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to episode 31 of the podcast. Sorry that shit got real for a sec.
Real,
We just had to discuss some things.
Thanks.
Anyway,
The worst part.
Steve, hit him up with that website one more time.
Podcast.wordpress.com.
Calm.
The worst part though is anyone who listened to the serious part just got dumber. They didn't learn anything. Like it just
Or they're yelling at their device that they're
fucking
listening to.
idiots. You guys don't know. Anyways,
I really hope that an economist actually listens to this. Anyway, have a blessed evening and even better tomorrow.
Tell a friend.
Tomorrow.